Finally, we have the scientists sit out front of the panel. Are they here? Hopefully. Yep. So, we're going to sit some scientists out front and they're going to answer questions. So I hope you're thinking of some questions. You can ask any sort of questions that you like. They can choose to answer or not. So you might ask, how much money do they make? Do they get to travel to different countries? So, thank you, scientists. So if you can introduce yourself by name and very quickly say how you got to what type of science you take part in, and then very briefly how you got to be a scientist. When did it hit you wanted to do science? Did you come out of the womb saying, yippee, I'm going to be a scientist? Right, start that in.
Hi, my name is Bonley Eugene. I'm from Haiti. Came to this country and I realized that I want to get involved in science. I always wanted to be an engineer, and then through of studying, I realized that my first class in soil science, I realized that how much I fell in love with, the diversity and how much that's involved in soil science. So, and I went and got my bachelor degree in agronomy, Florida A&M, and then I went to Purdue University for my PhD in soil science. And I've been working with Dr. Mori for 2 years, going to be up 2 years as a postdoc with environmental study looking at air quality, poultry housing, and that's it.
That's good. Each scientist tends to think that their field of research is the most important. Soil scientists will tell you that everything goes back to the soil. Plants only grow because of soil. You only get to stand here because you're standing on soil. So they're really important.
I'm Philip Moore. I'm a soil scientist, and I do research on emissions, gaseous emissions from chicken houses, and also on runoff from when we apply the manure out on land and you get runoff that goes into the streams and rivers and everything. And there's nutrients in manure, which is good for crops, grasses and stuff to grow, but those nutrients also make algae grow. And when they hit the rivers and lakes, can cause problems, makes your drinking water taste funny. But I guess it's kind of a long story how I got started. I was going to major in forestry because I thought it'd be great just to walk in the woods and look at trees all the time and everything. But that's not what you do in forestry. It's all math, and I'm not very good at math, but I was taking another course, Soil and Man's Environment, and it just made sense to me. You fertilize the soil, the grass gets green, pollution's bad, all this kind of stuff. So I said, hey, I can do that. And so I got a BS in soils and then ended up getting a master's in soils. And then my PhD actually was in marine science, where I actually studied more of the water, but really like it a lot. Science is fun.
Hi, my name is Narayan Rath. I work with the chicken bones. All of us, chickens also become lame. They develop many disease. And that's what I work, why they become lame. I'm from India. Originally, I got my PhD in zoology, and I worked in that time in the bone physiology. I've gone through many different things, worked with the university, and then worked with the pharmaceutical company. So right now, I work with the chicken bone, how do they become lame, and because chickens also, just like us, they walk with 2 legs. They can also have arthritis, they can have osteoporosis, and when they become lame, they don't eat, and then they have a lot of other problems. So that's what I'm working in Arkansas for last 23 years.
So, chicken bone man. Right, next.
I'm Jerry Huff. I'm a microbiologist. What I study is diseases in chickens and turkeys that are a problem to the chickens and turkeys themselves, and also diseases like salmonella or listeria that are only problem to humans who might catch them from the chickens. They don't really bother the chickens much. So I have a disease part of my work and a food safety part of my work. I think I first got interested in biology when I was like about 3 or 4, and my mother thought I was something wrong with me because we had an empty lot. In Chicago, we called them prairies, because Chicago used to be a prairie before they built all the houses. So we had an empty lot next to our house, and I used to go out there and pick, get caterpillars, all kinds of caterpillars, and put them in a jar. And I was real little, and my mother's scared to death caterpillars or worms or anything, so she thought that I had some kind of pathology. But I kept liking collecting stuff like that, and even like taking all the seeds off of the weeds and making food out of it, and crazy things like that. So I always had that love of finding things in nature and playing with them. I loved my biology class when I was in high school. I loved it, and I remember my aunt saying, what are you going to be when you grow up? I said, I like biology. So she said, I know, but what are you going to do? And I remember telling her I was going to have to be a biology teacher, because I had no clue what a scientist was. I had no clue that there was a job at that time, that there was a job that they would pay you to play around in a lab, answer questions and things like that. It didn't make sense to me. I just thought I would be a biology teacher. It wasn't until later in college I had some wonderful lab classes where they let us play, and they showed us that that's what you do. You get paid to play. You get paid to make up questions, figure out ways to answer them. It's one of the most creative things I've ever been able to do in my life, and I love it.
So we've got a crazy lady biologist, chicken man, 2 soil fellows over here. So questions. Who has a question? And that's the hardest thing to come up with in science. You have to want to know answers.
What kind of diseases do chickens have?
That's a good question. There's a whole book, like when I was in graduate school, it's like this book that keeps getting bigger and bigger. So they have a lot of different diseases. The ones that I study are ones that are caused by stress. You know what stress, nobody knows really how to define stress, but it's like any kind of change. So, you know, when we move the turkeys and they get all upset, or if it gets too cold or too hot, or if somebody forgot to feed them and they're hungry for a couple of days, those are stressors to the birds, and that makes them get infected from the environment, from their litter, wherever they're living, with bacteria like E. coli. I work a lot with E. coli. You've probably heard of E. coli. It's in all our poop. It's in us. It's on us. It's around. And so I study how the birds' immune system, how they battle bacteria, how that changes when they're under stress. But there's all kind of viruses, bacteria, fungus, there's so many different diseases that they can get. Usually those kind of diseases they get under stress.
Very good, well done.
We're the 2 soil guys. What kind of question are we trying to answer now? She said that you guys basically come up with questions and try and answer them.
She said, what question are you trying to answer at the moment? What are you researching?
Well, one of the things that we've done in the past is develop ways, chemicals that you can add to the chicken litter itself that will make there be less ammonia. One of the things that happens in the chicken house is that manure is decomposing. It gives off ammonia gas, and ammonia hurts the birds, and they don't grow as good. A lot of different things happen. It makes them more susceptible to diseases and everything. And so in the past, we have developed a product where you can go out and put it in the litter, aluminum sulfate, it's called alum, and that will keep the ammonia from volatilizing out of the manure. And the other thing it does is the aluminum in there reacts with phosphorus in the litter to make a mineral, and there's less phosphorus runoff into the water. And so it helps not only the air quality, but the water quality. And so we're trying to develop another amendment like alum, but only cheaper now. And that's one of the things we're working on. Another thing we're trying to do with the ammonia that Brantley's mainly working with is the chicken eats corn and soybeans mainly. and there's a lot of nitrogen in that. Well, nitrogen is the element that plants need most to grow. And so we want to save all that nitrogen. And you know, about half of the nitrogen goes into making up the body of the chicken. Well, the other half of that nitrogen comes out in their poop. And so of that half, about half of that goes out the window as ammonia before you ever put that manure out on the field. And so we said, can we capture that as it's going out the windows? And so we have this box that's we call a scrubber, and we're trying to capture that ammonia. It's a gas in a liquid form, and that's what Brantley has been working on, is to capture that, and then we're going to use that as a fertilizer on the crops.
Do you live near a chicken house? Have you smelled the chicken
Yes.
house? Okay, good. So that's the ammonia coming out the window. Very good question.
Yeah.
Yes. I probably would love to add, because since you mentioned both of us, in terms of soil, I think this is not something I'm currently working with Dr. Mowat, but imagine when you have a farmer has a lot of like swine or poultry litter, they're gonna apply it to the field. So if they don't have enough land to apply it and nobody's watching over that farmer, so they have this tendency of the more the better. So if they apply more of the litter or more of the swine manure, it's going to actually benefit the plant. And what we realize that most of it actually end up in the surface water. So we try to actually timing when they can apply the fertilizer or the swine or the poultry litter and how much they can apply. So, and that based on, we do a soil test. We actually take some of the soil, we measure the nutrient in that soil, and based on that, we can recommend the farmer how much of that swine fertilizer or the poultry litter they can apply and when they can apply it to, because if it's going to rain tonight, there's no reason to go ahead and apply that because you're going to lose some of it. And some of them can be volatilized too in terms of the nitrogen. And so that's another aspect of this research that I did some of it and I'm still interested in doing some of that in the future. But currently I'm working with the ammonia releasing from the poultry house with Dr. Mo.
For the biology lady, I have do the diseases from the chicken ever get to the chicken that we eat?
That's a very good question. You've heard of salmonella, right? So when you come over you're going to come to the colony houses, I'll talk some more about salmonella and why we're going to be wearing personal protective equipment. But salmonella is another real common bacteria like E. coli. And it doesn't hurt them at all. I mean, they don't care. It doesn't hurt them. So they don't really, their immune systems don't like fight it because it's not a problem. So you got to learn how to protect yourself from these kind of pathogens. So you just, even though you can't see them and you don't know for sure, they might not be there, but you always got to treat it like there's something there. Maybe.
Right, if you'd like to give the panel a round of applause.